Right, I call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 2nd. This is the Board of Civil Authority here to hear appeals from grievances. Our first order of business this evening is to approve the minutes of September 25th, 2024.
Make a motion. Minutes.
Thank you, Bonnie. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
I wasn't here.
I wasn't here either.
All right, so 2 abstains. Thank you. Okay. So now we'll move on to the hearings. The first 2 hearings are continuations from our last meeting, which is A&W Realty. The first one is A&W Realty HS Sunset.LND, which is open land. So everybody, let's see who's up there. Allison's up there. Lynn are up there. They've both been sworn in, as is Russ on this case. So we are not going to swear them in again. And we've already asked the appellants if they've received copies of the procedures, and they have indicated that they have. And so we do have some new BCA members here. Does anybody have a conflict of interest or has had ex parte communications with the appellants?
No.
No. Okay, none. All right, Russ, do you want to introduce this for the 3rd time with some new information, please?
Okay,
Hopefully 3rd time's a charm.
right, hopefully, yep. The property, I don't have the cards in front of me. I didn't make another copy of them. But the Sunset land and the Quaker land, they're both same issue. I redid what I mentioned last time, and I went to the maps, and I actually measured the properties based on what's on the GIS maps, and the acreage. Sarah submitted the 2 property record cards, the revised property record cards, with the acreage that I got off the maps, and then I revalued it based on the lot size, and that's the best we could find. There in the deeds, there was nothing in the deeds that we could find that defined the acreage other than what's on the map. So that's the best information we have. So there's nothing else I can do with it. If there's some proof or evidence that the maps are wrong, then we can adjust it. But that's all we have to go on right now.
Okay. And let's see which is the first property. Sunset is valued at.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have it. Whatever's on the card there is, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay. So.
I didn't print those for myself.
Okay. So
So the
total
value-
land is in the lower right-hand corner, 121,530.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. That's Sunset. That's Quaker, excuse me. And then Sunset is 221,520.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. Allison, are you going to speak or is Lynn?
Yes, I'll speak. So we reviewed the information that you sent over. Thank you for sending that and had the meeting. I agree with Russ. There's not any better source of information available to us right now. The deeds are they're not very forthcoming with the total acreage. So it is a bit of a difficult situation. So as we move forward in reviewing the property, I'm sure we will be surveying the property, and if we come up with numbers that vary widely, at least we would have an additional fact pattern to be able to then bring, to review this for next year. So we appreciate the work that Russ has done to reevaluate the methodology. We think the methodology is appropriate now. And we agree that this is the acreage that we can go with for now until we have better data.
So are you questioning the valuations or are you withdrawing your appeal?
Well, it's more of, we're happy with where it's gone. So it is improved through the appeal process. And so we're satisfied with where it is for today.
Okay,
But
Right.
I do want to just make a comment that I did pull back a deed from way back in 1958 where the property was sold and it then filtered down to Haystack after a couple of transitions. And no idea, without doing a lot of due diligence, it comes up with a total acreage for the property of 225. And since that deed was written, some parcels have been sold off. So, you know, until we get a survey and we have better data, you know, we don't have anything to dispute what Russ is saying. And I know he's just basing it on the information that's been filtered through the town for 50, 60 years. And how accurate it is, I don't think anybody knows.
okay. So I just want to make it clear, I mean, if you don't withdraw your appeal now, we will write an opinion based on Russ's findings. So you have a choice. We can write an opinion.
Well, I guess the question is, if next year at this time, and I'm arbitrarily making it up, but we get documentation, facts that show that the acreage is incorrect. I just don't want it to be that when we get that information and we come back to you, we're saying that we're okay with it for now,
No,
until we have time to get surveys done and research done.
no, I understand that. And so if you get a survey done or do other research that indicates that the acreage is different than what Russ is determined, then you can grieve and then appeal next year if you choose to.
Okay. And does that mean that we would, what would we do for now?
Well, for now, as I said, that there's two choices. Both actually end up with this. Well, I can't say how. You know, the first choice is to withdraw your appeal, which is it would be based on the values that Russ has determined for the two properties. Your other choice is to have the BCA issue an opinion. But based on the information we have, at least speaking for myself, I don't know how we would come to other values for these two properties if we did write a decision.
Yeah, and the revised values that Russ provided are the values, correct? We don't go to back before we made the initial appeal if
No.
I withdraw.
No.
Correct, so it's as it is today. Then yes, I can withdraw it and save you guys writing up the.
Great. Thank you very much for that. And I really want to thank you and Russ for the time. I know this took 3 hearings to get through. And, you know, thank Lynn for doing our inspection of the property, which was a hike. So I really appreciate all the time that you took to come and talk to us on 3 separate occasions.
And look, you can you know, get a little bit of a cold here happening, but I did want to make a point to thank all of you for doing all that as well. So look, we really appreciate it. And I feel like this, you know, was very professional in how you guys managed through this process. So thanks, and thanks Russ very much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, I'm done. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. We will. Registered? Oh, here he comes. Okay. Our next hearing is Vermont Golf, haystack.glf, 70 Spyglass Road. It's a golf course.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So, wait, before you start talking, we have to swear you in, Johnny.
Yes.
Are you the only one testifying?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so please raise your right hand. Russ, you raise your right hand too, please. Under the pains and penalties of perjury, do you solemnly swear that the evidence you give in this cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And did you receive, Johnny, a copy of the procedures for
Yes.
this hearing? Great. Do any members of the Board of Civil Authority have a conflict of interest or had ex parte communications with the appellant?
No.
No.
I think that's separate.
Okay, Sarah is abstaining from this hearing.
Do
Okay,
you want me to leave?
it's a public meeting. All right, so, all right, Russ, will you introduce this property, please?
Okay, so we got the golf course at 70 Spyglass Road. It's combination of land and building. There's the golf course and the clubhouse, and then there's a couple outbuildings along with it. And there's 144.63 acres. And the current assessment is $1,937,280.
Great. Thank you. All right, Johnny, would you like to present your
Yes.
case?
So first off, on the haystack golf card, the golf course was first built in 1970. It has it listed as 1990. The clubhouse was built in the mid-70s, and they have it listed as 2005. So the dates are way off on that to begin with. When we purchased the golf course after it being at it in bankruptcy for 2 years, the building has taken, 2 years with no heat in the building. There was a lot of pipes. Half the showers and the stalls are turned off because all the pipes busted. So we're trying to figure out where this 1.1 million on the building itself, without anybody coming in even looking at the building. And then going off, I'm not sure what golf courses that he used to, to assess our course. I mean, if you're using the ones that I think that you can highlight, which Brattleboro Country Club, which is a semi-private course with an updated irrigation system where you press a button on your phone and it waters a golf course. Our golf course is an antiquated irrigation system where you have to go out manually and turn every valve by hand. Another one here, he looks like he used Manchester Country Club, which is a private golf course that just had 9 holes rebuilt 7-8 years ago. And they also have the same updated irrigation system. Looks like Mount Anthony might have been used also. Again, their irrigation system is updated to a by phone. And Mount Snow, well, Mount Snow is just a much bigger property than ours. Wondering why that we weren't looked at other golf courses in Vermont as apples to apples. We're going against a private golf course, which is a lot more to join and a lot more to run than, our little tiny golf course, which, I mean, when the assessment first came out, it was almost triple what it was when we first purchased it. At that rate, we actually got it down a little bit, but it's very tough to keep the business running when the taxes are as high as they are. I mean, we're looking at 40 local people who have jobs there. And I just wish that, this was done, at least come out and see the buildings. Our buildings are in tough shape. So I don't know what else to say. I just need somebody to come out there and look at it.
That's part of the BCA process,
Yes.
is we do conduct an inspection of the property.
John, do you have an appraisal?
I do not have one.
Well, when you bought the,
Well, I bought it for at a rate that I didn't.
just couldn't be great. Okay, I know, it's just a matter of identifying
Yes,
the values. Okay,
yeah. Now, we will get one if you'd like. I'm not sure. Does it have to be a Vermont certified appraisal or can it be?
that's a good question. We'll ask Russ that. Hey, Russ, what's the best way to undertake hiring an appraiser to do an appraisal on a golf course? It doesn't have to be a Vermont company, does it not?
No, it doesn't have to be. No, it just has to be, well, in my opinion, it has to be a specialist. I tried to put together a survey. I couldn't find any appraisals that have been done. I found one. I talked to the assessor. The golf courses that you mentioned were the ones that were in your original grievance. The Mount Anthony, Brattleboro, Dover. So I talked to the assessors in those towns that had those properties. But yeah, you need a specialist. It's going to cost thousands of dollars, you know, because you have to have a specialist. A general commercial appraiser wouldn't have the experience or knowledge to be able to do it. And I'm not qualified either. And from all the evidence I found, which I'll go over, it's not something that's easily valued. A lot of times the properties are sold in combination with the resort. They're not even broken out separately. Like I talked to, you know, like Woodstock is an example, Rockefeller Resort. They have a golf course, but there's no assessment basically on the golf course. It's all included in the resort. So when they sell, a lot of times they sell and there's no sale price. And, you know, like in Dover, the property was sold, Mount Snow was sold, I think it's a Vail Properties. But I researched the sales that were identified that you just mentioned, which I'll go over after. But yeah, as far as appraising it, there's very little evidence, concrete evidence about, you know, how these, you know, properties should be valued. I talked to the assessor in Manchester. He's actually an attorney, and he was saying that there was an appraisal. The only appraisal that he found was done by a bank, and it was a low appraisal, and the town ended up prevailing over the only appraisal available, and the value that was put in was double what the the bank appraisal had. So it's a very difficult thing to value. I'll explain what I did, but if you have any more questions, I'll just go ahead.
Yeah, go right ahead, Russ. And
Okay, so the only way I could value this is through the Marshall Swift Valuation Service. So they do a study of golf course construction costs, and they have different categories of golf courses. You know, you have a standard golf course, you have executive golf courses. So basically the calculations I made, I have a land value for the property. Then you mentioned that the golf course value, the clubhouse is only valued at $346,000. The golf course itself is 1.1 million. And that comes out of the Marshall Swift valuation tables, which the town subscribes to. So all the buildings are valued through Marshall Swift. The golf course is valued through Marshall Swift. The outbuildings are valued through Marshall Swift. There could be issues with the condition, like you mentioned, but I think there really wasn't any mention originally of the condition of the clubhouse. There was some mention about the condition of the other outbuildings, and there was pictures that were presented showing that some deterioration, but there was no pictures of the actual clubhouse. The clubhouse, I didn't inspect the clubhouse because this is a statistical reappraisal. So there was no inspection done. I just had to use the data that we have on record. So after the the grievance, we dropped the value considerably. I dropped, of course, the land value down 10%. And I dropped the condition of the clubhouse and the golf course. So I put it in as a fair quality golf course, not fair quality and fair condition. The outbuilding I put in is average and with an average minus and that also I put in fair condition. So there could be some question about the general condition of the buildings, which I didn't inspect, so there could be a little variation there. So what I did was I spent quite a bit of time trying to create a spreadsheet, looking at all the golf courses in the state of Vermont. And so the sheet that I provided is the spreadsheet that I created, listing all the clubhouse, all the golf courses I could find, trying to categorize them by the number of holes, and I had to go onto all the websites where these are located and look up the information that the listers had for the values. Very few of these have recently been reassessed. Most of these are all older values, and it's questionable. Some of them could be 10 years old, but that's the only records that the town had for these assessments. So I put the location, I put the number of holes, I put the acreage, and the value is the assessed value, not the sale price. Those are the assessed values. So I went through, and again, it was very difficult to find any useful information. How some of these values were done, when they were originally done, and whether there was any actual qualified sales. So a qualified sale means you have a willing buyer and seller, and the information on the property was evident or presented in the sale. So some of these sales, the other question is, some of these are, and probably a good percentage of them, when they do sell, they sell with personal property, with all the golf carts and everything. And a lot of times these sales aren't broken out. The attorneys don't break out, how much is personal property and how much is real estate. So some of these, and a lot of these could be considered questionable. So the only thing I could do was try to sort them. And so I took all the 18-hole golf courses, I put them in the system, and I tried to determine what the medium assessed value would be. So I think this golf course may not be what you consider, medium quality, or, you may consider it, on the low end. But again, I'm not 100% sure of where it should be categorized. So what I did at the end of the report, I created the median assessed value. It's on the back. If it's a two-page report. So the median assessment is 1.8 million. The average assessment came out to 2.3 million. And so the value that is on your golf course is basically right between those two numbers. And that's the best I could come up with because there are no sales. And again, if you wanted to have it appraised, it would cost you a considerable amount of money. And it may not be in your best interest based on if there was any sales, they would have to come from out of the state. So a professional specialist on golf courses would have to go to other states to find sales. That's something that we can't do. We don't have the database, and it would be inappropriate to value golf courses that are in the South, which run year round, versus the golf courses in Vermont, which are seasonal. As far as the sales that were presented, I researched the sales. Like Mount Anthony is sold for 2.2 million, I believe. So on my spreadsheet, I have Mount Anthony, the sale price up to the assessor there. The sale price in 2019 was 2.2 million. That was before they made any renovations the current assessment is 2.4 million for Mount Snow. The Mount Anthony golf course, the only sale we could find was a 1.3 million sale. Well, no, the one that you provided, you said was 1.3. When I went to the town, there was a sale in 2006 for 2.6 million. And the current assessment that the town has on is 1.77 million. The other two, the Brattleboro Country Club, I talked to the assessor there, and they didn't find any sale of 1.2 million. They said the last sale they could find was 1.55 million back in 2014. And they have it currently assessed at 1.65 million. The Manchester Country Club, again, I talked to the assessor there. There was a sale, but it wasn't a legitimate sale. There was a debt problem. They were going under, I guess, at one point, and it sold for 1.1 million. And that's the one that had the appraisal done. And I forgot exactly what the appraisal was, but the current assessment, after it was reassessed in 2023, the current assessment is 2.41 million. So the only thing I could do with the information that I had was try to develop a reasonable assessed value somewhere in between the high end and the low end of the assessments without having any sales information. The income approach, there's no income information. Some they got private golf courses, public golf courses, and there's no data that available to try to determine the value based on the income approach. Again, it can be done out in the south where there's year-round country clubs. Then an appraiser would use the income approach if there aren't any sales available to try to determine what the market value would be. The best estimate is using market comparables, which we don't have, and we can't use the income approach because there's no income, and some of these don't even have. They break even maybe, and so there is really no value generated from the income from the country club. So the best I could do was use the Marshall Swift cost approach to value the structures, and then try to estimate what the land value would be to come up with the 1.97 million. So it was, yeah, so it was interesting to try to put some numbers together, but the data is few and far between. Come up with so I did the best I could with it, but it's questionable.
So my only question to you is on the median, the average assessed value of these properties that you did, a bunch of them are privately owned golf courses that have been around forever. It's like comparing a Volkswagen to a Ferrari, even though it's the same size property. I mean, you got Aquanic in here, which has been around for 120 years. And you can't even get into that golf course.
Oh yeah, it's a high end.
It's $1 million almost for them to sign up to be a member there.
Right.
Dorset Field Club, again, another course that has been around for over 100 years, which has a membership that's, I mean, you're comparing private membership golf courses to a public golf course. Those prices should come out of that.
Well, I'm not an expert on golf courses, and that's why I had to pick a number in the middle. So I'm not valuing it as if it's an exclusive private And there's no simple way of, again, to do it properly, you'd have to have a professional appraiser do it. The town, it costs thousands of dollars. If you had an appraisal done, and I'm sure the town would have to take a good look at it and see. So they'd have to make their decision based on the information I'm providing, what you're providing. And then if you decided to have an appraisal done, then, and the information we have is found to be incorrect, whatever, then it could be revisited. But this is all I can do. I'm not an expert. I don't know. I don't have the time to go into each one of these and determine whether it's public or private, what all the amenities are, the quality of the golf course, how much the building should be based on the condition and quality, whether it's irrigated, how it's irrigated, whether it's manual or automated. So there's a lot of questions, and the value is questionable.
Okay. At this point, I want to allow the BCA to ask any questions. Does anybody have a?
Can I ask Russ a question?
Yes, you can
Okay.
ask Russ
All right.
or the appellant.
So Russ, quick question for you. So I'm looking at everything you highlighted. And if I just do a quick division, so per acre. So Brattleboro comes out to 10,151, Manchester 12,637, Mount Snow 12,654. The Vermont Golf comes out to 13,453. So I'm not sure how you came, when you're looking at what you highlighted, to be a higher number for the Vermont Golf.
Okay, I didn't consider the land size. If you have an 18-hole golf course, you have the golf course, you have extra land around it, whether it has any contributory value or not. So how much do you need for the golf course? And if there's extra land, the excess land may not have any value. So I didn't even look at it from the point of view of, how many acres there are. And again, this one falls kind of in the middle. So you got
144.
144. So some are larger, some are smaller. And again, the quality of the golf course is based on the design, testability. So that there's so many factors in there that I don't have the resources to evaluate.
Right, and I understand that, which is why I'm looking at it as a average per acre to have an even playing field.
But see, the quality of the course is something that I don't have any.
No, I understand that. So I have a question. You had said that these golf courses were incomparable to yours. Is there one that is?
One that is.
Whether it's on this list or not?
Yes. Crown Point Country Club in Springfield.
Okay, I talked to the assessor about that one. That the value that they have on it is only for half. It's split by two towns. I think it's Wethersfield. So the assessment on that is half, 9 holes only.
Okay, and
'Cause I couldn't figure it out, so I called them. I actually called them today, and they said, "Well, it's split between two towns, and we only have 9 holes, so they valued 9 holes." And I don't know if the clubhouse was in there. So part of the buildings are in Springfield and part of it are in Wethersfield.
well, Neshabie Golf Club that you have up here listed as 9 holes, that is an 18-hole golf course and has been an 18-hole golf course for 10, 12 years. So I'm not sure where that 9-hole on 162 acres came from.
That's Neshobe.
No, yes, Neshobe and Brandon, Vermont.
Yeah. Again, this could be another, I found in some cases, even like in Woodstock, they had the golf course in 2 pieces. So if you went in and looked it up, you might not get the right value because there's 2 pieces to the value. This could be the same situation. So maybe the 9 holes, again, this is all I could find. And I went online, 65 could be for just the 9-hole portion. I'd have to look it up on the map, or you'd have to look up on the map and see. I got the nine holes from somewhere. I didn't just make it up, so.
No, it was a 9-hole golf course, 15 years ago.
Yeah, most of the 9-hole golf courses I could find, I just did one in the town of Windsor, and we put an assessment on it. It's listed there under the John P. Larkin Country Club. And I put a value on it this year because we did a reappraisal. So it's about 700,000 for a 9-hole golf course on 39 acres.
Another one would be the St. Johnsbury Country Club.
St. John's.
St. Johnsbury?
Yes.
Where is that one? Let's see. St. John's.
Maria.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that one.
She's in.
Oh, she is, okay.
She's muted right now. Yeah.
I'm sorry, everyone. Thank you. I apologize. The connection was quite poor at the beginning.
Do you want to testify, Maria?
Of course, yes, please.
Okay, before you can, I have to swear you in. So could you please?
I also have Patrick next to me, my husband, who is another partner in the golf course, so we're both here together.
Yes, how are
Okay.
you doing?
Well, can you please put your screen on and so I can swear you in?
It's on.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right, please raise your right hand.
Mhm.
Under the pains and penalties of perjury, do you solemnly swear that the evidence you've given the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, so help me God.
Yes,
Okay.
well,
Thank you. All
You're
right,
welcome.
you guys can talk now if you have additional information you'd like the Board of Civil Authority to hear.
Well, additionally, I just want to say one thing. While I appreciate and understand the necessity for a reappraisal, I think that right now what we're trying to grasp is the fact that it is like such a large increase. We are a golf course that's situated in a very lovely area in Wilmington, and we do assist the economy by employing a lot of the local folks in the area. And I really feel that, it's a struggle right now to keep afloat. We have a ton of repairs that we must make because the golf course itself and the structures are in desperate need of repair. We have a pump house that is, for lack of a better way to describe it, standing on its left leg. It's going to be an incredible expense to repair that, to the fact that it can actually work effectively. So my question to you is, I understand that the reappraisal is necessary, but what kind of formula is used in addition to the comps and maybe other factors that you have to arrive at this area of this amount?
I think Russ explained that already. Were you not on when that happened?
No, it was actually the audio was jumbled at that time. So if someone could just, I understand it's a recorded transcript, and I would be more than happy to go back and look at that. So he doesn't have to repeat it. But the fact still remains that, we are a struggling business in the area, trying to employ as many locals as we possibly can. And so, I guess what I'm trying to say is any leniency would be greatly appreciated, simply because we do really want to stay in business, but these incurred great expenses in addition to the tax increase is going to be detrimental.
Okay, Russ, just so you understand what happens here, and I think Russ can repeat what he says, because after we finish with this process tonight, and I'm going to give Johnny two choices before that, but typically what happens is the next step is for an inspection team to be formed. The inspection team then goes to the golf course and inspects the property. Then the inspection team makes a recommendation to the Board of Civil Authority as to what they believe the value is. And there really isn't an opportunity as part of that process for you all to be heard. So tonight is the night you can be heard. Now, the thing I'm going to offer Johnny, if he wants to, and if the Board of Civil Authority agrees, is we can continue this hearing if he wants to seek an appraisal. And then we can wait till we see the appraisal, and then we can, go through the rest of the process. If anybody disagrees, please.
I
let me
don't
know.
disagree. I just might have a few questions.
Sure, no,
for John.
yeah.
Yeah, as long as we're not stopping.
No, we're not stopping.
Okay.
I just wanted to explain to them.
Thank you.
Russ, so why don't you re-explain what happens, and then we'll let Meg ask her questions.
Yeah, so unfortunately, there aren't comparables. I try to use comparable assessments, but there are no sales comparables. And if you actually were interested in getting an professional appraisal done, the lead time would be significant. It would probably be months before you could actually find somebody qualified, like I mentioned, a qualified specialist in valuing golf courses. So again, because there's no comparables, I had to use the resources I had. The town subscribes to the Marshall and Swift Valuation Service, which has valuation tables for golf courses. So you have to rate the golf courses average, fair, good, or whatever, and the system automatically comes up with a value based on Marshall and Swift's studies of the costs of golf courses. So it comes up with a replacement cost new, and then we just have to try to determine the depreciation of the golf course and the buildings. So that becomes somewhat subjective. It's a matter of opinion. I could go out there and say, well, it's in fair condition, and I could put 20% depreciation on it or something. If the board went out, they might think something else. If you get 5 people out there that could come up with 5 different answers as to what the depreciation should be. So I try to use the best information I have. Unfortunately, this was a statistical reappraisal, and so properties weren't inspected. If it was a full reappraisal, then I would have gone out there and inspected the property and probably could come up with a little more accurate value. So the only thing I could do was to try to put together a list of all of the golf courses in the state of Vermont. I had to going through all over the state trying to find 18-hole golf courses, which I did, and try to sort them by value and determine, what the median value would be. So that's how I came up with I don't know, did you get a copy of the spreadsheet that I created?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so at the bottom, after I sorted them, the median assessment was 1.8 million.
Mhm.
The average assessment was 2.3. And so the assessment that finds your property now is somewhere right between them. But there's legitimate arguments as far as the condition of the property, the condition of the golf courses, whether it has an updated irrigation system, whether the clubhouse, needs a lot of work. And so again, you might have to invest a lot of money in trying to get these, the buildings back up and, good condition.
Well, thank you very much, Russ, for revisiting that. I truly appreciate that. And I don't envy your task of making these guesstimates of what what the appraisal value is. So thank you for that. Would it be appropriate for Patrick to ask you a question?
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
but in your evaluation, do you take in consideration the operating time of a golf course? We are operating about 5 months, 5.5 months. And after we close, is it part of your evaluation also? Or because in Burlington, for example, they operate 2 months more.
Mm-hmm. No, indirectly, I don't know how many months they operate. I assume it's cyclical and it's so it's seasonal. And so that's why it wouldn't be logical to try to use comparable properties outside of New England as far as, because it has to be seasonal. Yeah, if you get up to Maine, you could even have less months available to stay open. So all the ones that are in Vermont, we'd assume that they have similar operational time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another question, I don't know if Johnny raised a question. There is a pump house which is in the middle of the 142 acres we own, which we cannot use. Is this also a consideration for your evaluation?
Is the pump house listed on the card? I have outbuildings. I have
It's on- it's
two
on-
outbuildings. I have a shed. I have one building that's 42 by 70 and another shed that's 30 by 32. Is that one of the pump houses?
I can, Johnny, you can explain better probably.
Yes.
If it's not on here, then I didn't value it.
No, it's on there.
Could you explain that a little better, Johnny?
The smaller outcrop building is a pump house, which pumps, we have a pump station in it that pumps water from the pond and into our pipes to irrigate the golf
So it's
course.
pump house, okay.
It is a smaller building that's on this. It is, decaying away into the pond pretty good. We've lost, it's normally 2 pumps in the house. We've lost one because the pipe has collapsed, being so old.
Well, this assessment is just for the building itself. So we're calling it a shed, an average quality shed. And then I've got 40% depreciation on it. So it's got quite a bit of depreciation. It could have more, but that's just the shed. Nothing on the inside, any of the mechanics or anything. That's all part of the basic golf course evaluation.
I probably misexplained myself, Johnny. The pump house, which is owned by the town or the fire department, which is on a third fairway, the land we maybe were able to sell or build on, we can't. You remember the one we walked, Johnny?
Yes. Up on the
That's
third
what
hole, there is
I'm referring to.
a pump house for the town.
Oh,
It's on our property.
And so how does that impact the value of the property?
Well,
We cannot-
we can't auction that piece of property to sell because of the pump houses on it.
Okay, and
The
how,
town.
okay,
Built.
Is it actually a separate parcel?
No,
Okay, so there wouldn't be any sale issue there. You couldn't sell it. It's not a separate parcel. But there may be an issue with, right of way or encumbrance. In some cases on some properties, if you have something like that, it could affect the market value, but it may not be significant for the golf course.
Okay, understand. Mhm.
all right, so now I'm gonna go back to the Board of Civil Authority. Meg Streeter has something.
John, do you, out of the 144 acres, do you have lease land included in that, or is it all owned?
it's all owned up.
Okay, so
Yes.
no more leasing.
Uh,
That's part of that total.
well, in the deed, we do have the right of way on some of the golf holes. We don't actually pay a lease to it.
But
But
they're
it's-
not included in this 144, but they're
I-
technically part of the course, I
Yes,
guess.
yes.
Okay, it's probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The other question, since you mentioned on Russ's list,
Yes.
several private courses, are there others besides the Dorset, Manchester, the Equinox, and then the Manchester?
So the
Country Club?
private ones,
Yeah,
J Peak, which we don't have a price on.
okay,
Burlington Country Club,
okay,
Country Club of Vermont, Dorset Field,
right,
Aquanic,
right,
Manchester Country Club,
right.
Rutland. The mountain course at Spruce Creek,
Okay,
and that's it.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so some of these, like the J Peak one, there's no assessment on the golf course because it's all lumped in. There's hundreds of acres of vacant land that shows on the map with the golf course. And so there's no breakout of the actual value of the golf course. That's why there's no value in there.
Which one was that? I know you have that listed as Strat.
Well, JP, the ones with zeros for the assessed value, JP Golf Course, Lakeland Golf Course, Okemo, Weechee. I went online and couldn't find any values for those assessed values for them.
Yeah, and Stratton Mountain Golf Course, you didn't either.
Right.
But I do have the residential property card for that golf course, so I'm not sure how you weren't able to get that. I was.
Do you, John, put that into evidence?
I just got it 2 days ago.
Well, no, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you would like the Board of Civil Authority to see it, then we need to,
Yes,
you need to share it with the board.
yeah.
Okay.
Again,
Yes.
I went to on Stratton, I went to the Mendon website, and again, I couldn't find a value just for the golf course itself.
Well, Stratton, you need to go to the town of Winhall, not Stratton. The
Oh,
golf.
Winhall, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Winhall.
I put Mendon down there, but it's supposed to be okay, that's my mistake.
So you have the card for Stratton,
Yes.
and what's the value? Just,
1 point, sorry.
and we'll take that document after we're finished, so we all can review it.
1.99 million, 1.935 million.
Okay.
And again, that's 308 acres. It's 27 holes of golf,
27.
twice the size of ours.
Does the card say when it was assessed, last assessed? Is there any reappraisal done recently? Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these, when they were actually assessed, some of them could be 10 years. They've had the same value on them. They haven't been reassessed because there hasn't been any reappraisals done. Yeah, and some of them I couldn't find the number when they were last reappraised, or when the town did the last reappraisal. So I believe a lot of these assessed values that I put in are probably lower than what they should be if they were reappraised. currently.
April 1st, 2023.
Okay, good.
All right, anything else you'd like to tell the Board of Civil Authority, Johnny? Or Marie, or
No, I think I've summed up my portion. Patrick, I think you've the same.
Yes.
Johnny, do you have anything else?
No, I think we're all set.
okay. So the next thing is, I think we've asked all the questions we have. Anybody has any more questions? Then we need to appoint an inspection committee of at least 3 BCA members to inspect the property at a date and time set by the chair and report the findings back to the Board of Civil Authority. So we'll need to work with you to identify a date and time for an inspection team of 3 people to come out to your property.
You just tell me when and I'll be there.
Okay, so who would like to be on the inspection team? John? Anybody else?
Sure.
Peg?
Yeah, do you need a non-golfer? I don't know.
I'm a non-golfer.
Oh,
So.
you do. Maybe we have too many. I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say, bring your club too.
All right, so John, Meg, and I'll go, I guess. All right, so we need a date. So Johnny's very flexible, so it's up to us.
Do you want to try and go, what's this week? Friday?
I can do Friday.
John?
No, I will not be here Friday. Any day next week, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, actually every day next week I am open.
Okay. We're doing inspections Monday morning already, so.
Yeah.
um,
And then we have an inspection on the 10th.
Okay, so what,
I mean, I can do it this Thursday if you want, but no. No, actually, no, Thursday's not good. Yeah, the week of the 7th, any day that week. I know you guys have something on the 7th already.
What's
so.
your schedule like, John? It could be the 8th, 9th, or 11th next week,
8th would work for me.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that good for you, John?
Yeah.
And the weather
Wide
looks
open.
good. Monday would have been raining.
No, that wouldn't have been fun. Okay, so October 8th at
What do you think?
9?
9. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
That's fine.
At 9 a.m.
Right.
All right,
Okay,
great. Thank you so
Good.
much for taking the time to come and talk to us.
thank you for listening to me.
So we'll meet at the clubhouse?
Yes, we'll
Does
be
that
at the
sound good?
clubhouse.
Yeah, good,
Just to
good
be
point.
sure. Yeah.
And you've all driven golf carts, right?
No.
That I've done.
Oh,
Okay.
no, I don't. Yeah, yeah, sorry. It's on my-
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening.
Right. Our next hearing is Belcastro. The property number is 00304037.000 Old Town Road. Who is going to be testifying for the appellants?
Vince Belcastro, I'm my wife and I are the primary owners.
Yeah, come on up, because no one can hear you on Zoom if you're not right there. And your name, sir? I'm sorry.
David Buckley?
David, okay.
L-E-Y.
Okay, so their first order of business is I need to swear in the witnesses. So could you please raise your right hand? Under the pains and penalties of perjury, do you solemnly swear that the evidence you give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay. Have you received a copy of our rules of procedure?
I have.
Excellent. Do any of the members of the Board of Civil Authority have conflicts of interest or have had ex parte communications with the appellants?
No.
None. So, okay, good. Russ, would you like to introduce this property, please?
Okay. We have a residential property at 115 Old Town Road. It's comprised of 9.4 acres and a contemporary style house.
And its value is?
The current value is $837,100.
Thank you. All right. Who wants to speak first?
Okay, well, firstly, I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day and evening to hear me out here. I really do appreciate it. Just so you know, I have been a second home member of this community for 37 years. This is my third home in Vermont. Pretty much our kids were raised here at least every weekend and holiday period possible. And then I also want to introduce David Buckley. David is a certified appraiser with the state of Vermont. He's got over 40 years experience, resides in Bennington, Vermont, and knows this area extremely well. As evidence that we submitted to earlier today, we have prepared our own appraisal with Mr. Buckley's expertise, which we submitted into evidence, as well as MLS photos and what have you. So just to sort of start that out, I do want to offer that up. And where appropriate, certainly Mr. Buckley is here to answer any questions on the appraisal side. Before we start, if I may, because I do think there's quite a few inconsistencies in this comparison card, or grid card, whatever we call it. I do want to ask Russ some questions about, what he's done to certify these values other than look them up on paper. So if that's okay with you, Russ, and the board, I would appreciate it.
That's not how we work.
Okay.
Your job is to present your case.
Yeah,
Mr. Buckley can also present his appraisal. If you think there are issues with respect to the work that Russ did, you should raise them. He may choose to respond to them. He may not. You can pose questions generally, but you're not going to be cross-examining Russ.
Okay, not here to cross-examine Russ, but these questions ascertain to how the value was established. And so at the end of the day, that's really all I'm looking to do.
Okay, well, if you have
I
issues,
understand this is not a legal hearing.
so if you have issues with how he assessed values, I would state that you have issues and what those are. And
Okay.
then Russ can choose to respond to that.
Okay. I mean, these are more, before we get into the valuations and the grid card, these are more general questions about how he arrived at the value. That's really what they're not, you know, like I'm saying, they're not cross-examinatory. It's just more of, has the house been inspected? You know, did you access MLS and all those more generic questions? So I understand how these grid cards work. So at some point, maybe when it's his turn, he can kind of add in on that. But look, let me just start. First of all, I just want to be clear so we understand the property. The property itself here that's in question is, number one, a modular home. It's not a high quality custom built stick home. It's not an architectural build. It's a pretty standard, somewhat customized modular home. That's what it is. So I'm not sure whether Russ was aware of that when he did his appraisal, his viewing of the cards in comparison of the cards. But I do want to bring that out just for the record. And so we have a modular home here that was custom sided, and that's about it. The interior of the home has no special details. It's pretty much sheetrock other than a wood ceiling. There's no post and beam. There's nothing to make it a high quality home. It's a very functional second home that is a modular build of average quality. So I just want to establish that for the record. So let's just kind of then talk about some of these comps that we used. Given that, and then the other thing I'll tell you is that I've had to do quite a bit of, given the slope of the land, I've had to spend, I don't know, at least $30,000 to $40,000 extra in drainage. So because the lot was as wet as it was. So I just want to be clear on what the status of this land is. And then the furthest point of the lot is, not the furthest point, but where the driveway ends, for the most part, begins to be unusable because, quite frankly, it's got a heavy slope, and that area is wet all the time from drainage, and it just was too expensive to do anything else. So yes, I may have 9.8 acres or whatever I have, but most of it is unusable because it's either on a hill or it's marshy and not able to be further developed in any way, even for my own personal use, let alone subdivision. So this is not per se, you know, a very flat lot or some of the lots that he's compared here. So I want to just start with Lyle Hill Road. I'm not even sure why this would be on this lister's card or comparison card, because for starters, Lyle Hill Road, especially if you look at the pictures, which I'm not sure were done here, is 76 acres plus. I'm not sure how that compares with 10 acres. And on top of that, it has outstanding views, and that home is second to none. It's in very good quality, as he states. Mine's an average quality. It's an average build and average quality. And yet, from a percentage valuation basis, you know, we actually take my property up in value versus what the value of this property is. So I'm going to argue that realistically, this is not a good valuation and it should be excluded from the comps. You know, if you really take a look at it, you would see, and the house is outstanding. So let's just kind of put that where it is. Secondly, when I first met with Russ, I did point out to him, there was a sale across the street, 112 Old Town Road. It's listed here. As you can see, that valuation is considerably less. And so for what it's worth, it's of good quality build. It is a stick-built home. It's in good condition. I have visited the property myself. It's got a very nice deck with mountain views. I have no views. So again, a detractor of value. And if you look at that sale, I believe it was 600 some odd thousand in 2021, at a time and I'm a banking officer, so I can speak to this. At a time when rates, both the real estate market, which has taken a significant slowdown nationally, but not even nationally, even in our area, mostly due to rates, which up until a week ago were at the highest they've been since, I want to say 2011, right after the great financial recession. And as we all know, generally lower rates drive more investment in real estate, which is why we have a national slowdown on investment in real estate outside of pockets of the Northeast. So I'm not sure what kind of time comparison was done, but I don't feel that like this is realistic when you have a general slowdown in real estate driven by the highest rates we've had in 30 years. So let's just note that, quite frankly, as I pointed out the first time, to me, this is the best comp. And generally speaking, you see what that valuation is. It's directly across the street from me, okay? Then we look at Higley Hill Road, and Higley Hill Road is 17.8 acres. Again, he notes that this is in good quality, versus mine that's in average quality, yet my valuation is realistically about the same and higher. It's actually higher from a comparable value estimate of 852 versus 849, where my certified value is 837. It's only $12,000 off of that home, which again is a contemporary. I drove by to see the house. It's stick built. It's in very good condition, and it's an architecturally correct house. So I'm going to argue that, or I'm going to note that Higley Hill is a paved road. I don't have a paved road. I have a road that's shut down from most of April to commercial traffic, so I can't even get deliveries. And throughout the year, it's typically in disrepair. If you drive it now, it's littered with potholes. And the further up you go, the further up the damage is. So just let's note that these are, again, nothing more than detractors from value. Okay. So, and then we take Boyd Hill Road. And again, Boyd Hill Road, this is a raised ranch. The construction is a little bit older. And on Boyd Hill Road, what you have going on is that, quite frankly, it's a nicer neighborhood. It's got nicer homes on it. And generally speaking, it's what was my thought on Boyd Hill Road? It's quite frankly not a good comp in the sense that it's a little bit out of the neighborhood, so to speak, and also I believe a slightly bigger home. And yet that one too is in good quality, and the valuations are, quite frankly, going the other way. We have deducts on the quality. So generally speaking, I believe that, quite frankly, you would have to adjust down Boyd Hill Road for about $150,000 and not up 21% versus the value of my home, just given that it's in better quality and better condition. And again, it's an architecturally designed road. I'm sorry, home. And so I'm not sure why that would make sense. So at least these are the findings that we see in conferencing with the appraiser who's here and who's done, again, our own appraisal on the comps that we used. We don't believe they're good comps. And the best comp is staring at us. It's directly across the street. It's of similar build. There's recent sales data on it. And generally speaking, that is the closest valuation to what my home should be. In addition, a year ago, more than a year ago, we had two realtors look at it. One was Rich Kaplan from Deerfield Valley Real Estate, and the other one was Adam Palmer, and both commented that at the time, that house, in a better real estate market than today, mind you, was likely to sell at best mid sevens. So again, I'm not sure where this 837.1 is coming from, but I can tell you that it's from my standpoint, an inflated value given the situation with this house. So
Okay, thank you. Mr. Buckley, would you like to discuss your appraisal? That
Yes,
might
I'd
be useful
be
for the
happy
Board of
to.
Civil Authority.
Would you like me to sort of introduce the process that I went through a little bit?
Yeah,
In a
that'd
very
be,
general way?
that would be great, but fairly briefly, please.
Keep it short.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Particularly because I think the definition of a good appraisal is one that ought to have enough information into it that you can read the appraisal and you can come to the same conclusion I did. So,
I haven't found the actual amount.
I
I'm
think.
sorry, it's very hard to hear the gentleman speaking.
665, page 2, it's on the back.
It's in the very lower left-hand corner.
Of this,
Yeah.
of your appraisal report?
Yeah. It's double-sided.
And through this. I guess the other question I had real quick is that the date on this is April 1st.
Well, that's the date that we're grieving. We're grieving that date.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Buckley.
Okay, so my process and most licensed appraisers' process is to define the property they're appraising and then look for similar data. And we have available to us the MLS database. And as I'm listening tonight, I don't know whether MLS database was used at all as a way of creating a statistical valuation of this property. So I won't go there. But I want you to know that I use MLS, and right in the first page, I tell the reader what my search parameters were, and I won't go into that because you guys can look at it. And I also reference the data that the search parameters reveal, and I also tell you what the median average sale price was, both listings and sale prices, and the data's there. So I don't have to get into the minutia. And then once I've established what I'm appraising, I go into the MLS. Well, actually, I think I should visit this just briefly because the search parameters were all properties on 2 to 20 acres within a 10-mile radius with homes built since 1995 with gross living area between 2,000 and 3,000 square feet. So MLS goes within the 10-mile radius, searches those comparables, and from them, I found 3 which were the best to reflect the subject property. These are recent sales. They're 2024 and late 23 sales. And I would emphasize when you look at a grid like this, the first thing you want to do is say, what was the gross sale price of these properties? And very quickly, it's 623 to 725. The reason for that is if you agree that the properties that are described and with pictures and location, et cetera, might be considered comparable, then the adjustment process is merely a matter of saying, all right, let's see if we can narrow that range, because any sort of comparative sales analysis should work towards narrowing the range, not expanding it. And so the adjustments aren't based on cost. They're not based on multiple regression analysis. They're noting attributes that might be considered superior or might be considered inferior. That the location is very often one of those. The size of the property, bedrooms, bathrooms, those are attributes that ought to be considered when you're comparing to a property that has stated attributes. So that was that process. And I came up with a value of 665. And there's a fourth comparable if you turn the page. And I guess probably if I'm going to represent my work, I should just take a second to explain to you what my thoughts were, because, great, you put it on a grid. What does that mean? So I'm just going to read it. A search of the last 3 years MLS for sales in a half-mile radius shows 7 sales in a value range between $200,000 and $635,000 with a median average of $395,000. That document's attached. A similar search of sales since 2023 of properties with 2 to 20 acres with homes built since 2000 with a GLA of 2,000 to 3,000 square feet, reveal 4 sales and 2 current listings. That's attached. This data outside of the subject neighborhood reveals a median sale price of $553,500 with a median list price of $619,000. This is critical information because this represents our market as of April 1st, 2024. Comp 1 and Comp 2 are higher quality custom construction. This one's a modular home. Comp 2 is in Chimney Hill with the amenities, including community water, a la carte services for trash, plowing, sanding. You guys know the drill. You know Chimney Hill. Comp 3 is a superior location with shared private lake access, beach area, tennis courts, superior construction, and superior lower level finish. Most weight was put on Comp 1, a sale at 175 Newfane Hill Road. You have a picture of it. Data above the grid represents all MSL activity. There's some numbers right at the top here. That represents the MLS activity in the last 2 years. That's pretty much the meat of the report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. The next step in the process is to allow the assessor to respond to the information that was provided by the appellants or the appellant. Russ?
Okay, so basically, the values that are calculated for mass appraisal, we do not use comparable sales. It's not an acceptable method for mass appraisal. It's not approved by the International Association of Assessors Office for mass appraisal. There's no properties in town which are valued by the market comparable approach. The market comparable approach we use is for trying to determine some other method to try to determine, the value of the property. So the market comparable approach is just used for support only, not directly. So the spreadsheet that I created comes through the CAMA system. This system is designed to look at all the attributes of the buildings and the land and come up with a value. It makes dollar adjustments just the same way you would on your fee appraisals. And actually, a lot of these adjustments I've consulted with appraisers to determine what we should use for the adjustments, for bathrooms, bedrooms, whatever. So the comps that I came up with, I didn't, the system automatically generates these comps. I can filter them by taking some out, but I can't manually add any in. As a fee appraiser, you can look up and you can find 5 comps or 6 comps, whatever, and then you can decide which 3 you want to use. The system, if you look at the spreadsheet that the system generates, it's got points at the bottom. So the comp with the lowest points is the most comparable. So the property that I have for the most comparable is the one on Boyd Street, 405 Boyd Street. Comp number 2, if you look at it, it's got higher points. And so that's comp number 3 and comp number 4. The system can pick up to 5 comps, but if I find that they're not usable, I can reduce it down. In some cases, I have all 5 comps. In this case, there's only 4 that they found usable. Now, the issue of, the land value for the property, comp number 4, that has the 76 acres, the system automatically made an adjustment because of the land size. So it actually subtracted $183,400 for the difference in the land value. So it makes an adjustment even though, it's not a comparable lot size, but it does a dollar adjustment to bring it back to compare it to the comp. So if all the land values there are adjustments if it's a larger lot or better lot, then it makes an adjustment. So like comp number 1, it only made a negative adjustment of 1,600. Comp number 2, it subtracted 30,000. Comp number 4, 40,000, and then the last comp is 183,000. And then all the attributes, the style, so some items there's a dollar adjustment for. So there's a dollar adjustments for square foot differences. All these comps are of similar size. The finished living area of the subject property is 2,052 square feet. Comp number 1 is 18 small. It's actually a smaller house. It's 1,800. Comp number 2 is 2,300, very similar size. Comp number 3 is 2,300, similar, very similar. So they're all about the same size. The big difference, which I think probably is an issue, is the quality construction. Like you said, I didn't inspect this property. It looks like a decent quality house. Whether it's modular or not doesn't mean it's inferior. So we see a lot of, in some cases, some of the modular stuff is better than stick built. Because they're built in the factory, they're, better quality wood, dried wood, kiln dried wood. And so just because it's a modular doesn't mean it's lower quality. But I do feel that the quality might be an issue here, maybe overgraded. And that would kind of tip it to possibly a lower value. Other than that, everything else on the comps is all in line. Most of the comps, except for comp number 5, Lyle, has a similar grade. So from what was said by the owner and you, I agree that the quality construction has room for adjustment possibly, which may affect the value. The other issue now, so we only use sales after all the sales we have to put in the system are before April 1. We can't use any sales directly after April 1. That's something you can use. I don't know if your sales, I don't have a copy of your appraisal, but if you use sales after April 1, 2024, then we wouldn't have those in the system. And I don't know, you mentioned that there was one house, one of your comps had waterfront. I'm not sure if I heard that right, but I would never compare a house with that doesn't have waterfront with a property that does have waterfront. It's a whole different market.
May I ask a question?
Oh, let me finish, please.
Yeah, so the only issue that I have and only have question, because again, it's a statistical reappraisal, there could be issues with the quality construction. The condition of the property, it's fairly new. It was started construction in 2022 and it was finished in 2023. It was very new.
Okay.
Can I weigh in?
Nope.
No, it
The
doesn't work.
BCA is the next, has the next set of questions. Does anybody have questions from the Board of Civil Authorities? I do have one for Russ. You said that there might be an issue with the quality. It might be overrated on the subject property. So how would that affect the value? I mean, obviously we lower the value.
Well, I think, yeah, it depends. There's hard data and soft data whenever you're doing any of this. The soft data is the quality grade. You can have appraisers go out there, 5 different appraisers, they may have 5 different answers. The same with the depreciation, like I mentioned. This has very little depreciation, so that shouldn't be an issue because it's brand new. It only has 2% depreciation, so that's not an issue. So the quality of construction, again, if I inspected it, I might have come up with a different answer. I didn't inspect it. We used the grade that was in there previously. And so that's the only concern I would have as far as trying to defend the value.
Okay. I'll let the appellant speak again, but I
We'll make it
caution
short.
you not to question
No, I'll
and
make it short.
cross-examine.
I'm not going to.
I just wanna weigh in a minute that.
Wait, let me finish my thought. After we look at that grid on the comparable that we thought was most comparable across the street, that the difference in the grade from very good to average is 20%. Now, for some reason, this grid goes from assigning adjustments on a dollar basis to a percentage basis with these two items: quality, grade, and condition. 28% is about $150,000 adjustment, but it's not shown as 150,000. It's shown as 28%. Similarly, for condition, this grid shows average for the subject house. The grid on the property across the street shows good. Good is better than average, but this grid awards 8% more to the valuation, increasing. It should be minus 8%. If it's better, and this is average, it shouldn't be plus 8%. It should be minus 8%. And if you go right across the board, every one of those adjustments is plus, and it's a superior statement, and it should be minus. So it's mistaken, and it's switching from dollars to percentages, so you don't see the impact on the bottom line. So I have to tell you, there is no rule that you can't look at a sale of a property outside of a town line. There is no national standard that says you have to ignore a sale of a house right across the line. This property is very close to Westover. The Westover market, not on the resort, probably has data in the same submarkets as in Wilmington. And to say you can't look at it is just not true. Now, if that's one of the problems with doing a statistical reappraiser where you don't look at any of the properties, I get it. I understand it, but that's why mistakes are made, because they're not looking at any of the properties. They're not looking at properties in MLS that give you interior pictures, descriptions of property. They're not looking at any of that. They're just doing a statistical numbers game. And in this particular case, the number is a +8 and it should be a -8. Good is better than average. So I'm suspicious of the grid. And I agree with my client that you should throw out Lyle Hill, you should throw out Higley Hill, and you should throw out Boyd Hill, and you should go with Old Town Road. Higley Hill and Lyle Hill are homes that are 1,000 feet off the road on superior larger lots with great views. He's 200 feet from a dirt road. So why would you do apples and oranges? Well, okay, that's what the statistical process is. I get it, but it's wrong. Done.
Russ, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I could look into that issue with the pluses. I think it uses the relative condition for its age. I'll have to check the model to see how that works. But as far as, like I mentioned, none of the properties in town are valued on a market comparable approach. We have to use the properties that are in town. Yeah, we could go outside if we wanted to use comparables, but we don't have a database for that. You have a database for going outside. I have no idea what's in Dover. We don't have a database for Dover. So we value all properties in town based on sales in town, because they're either Dover may be a similar market, it may not. The taxes are different. So it's more equitable for everybody that properties are valued. If we're going to use comparables that are available in Wilmington, not Dover or Marlborough or any other town. And again, this is just for support only. The value is not calculated using market comparable.
Does any member of the Board of Civil Authority have any questions? Okay, the next thing we have to do is set an inspection date and set an inspection team. Who would like to volunteer to be on the inspection team? Tom?
Yep.
Sarah?
Well, depending on when you want to do it, because I'm going to be gone.
When are you gonna be gone? Because that would be important.
Yes, I would. I'm going to be gone from October 16th to October 24th. So before that,
It's going to be way before that, yes. it is.
Yeah, it'll be way before that.
We gotta do it.
All right,
I'm just.
all right. So it'll be Bonnie, Sarah, and Tom. And
Have you done work for Wilmington before? The town?
Yeah,
all
I'm
right,
so familiar. That's,
well, I've been on the other side of.
oh, I know that.
So-
You're supposed to be.
Mr. Bello Castro, what would be a good date for you to have inspection done, or dates?
I would say if possible, not this Friday, it is a religious holiday, but say a week from this Friday, whatever date that might be, that could work. I will come up Thursday evening. Or get you, or at least at a minimum, get you access to the inside of the house.
That would be October 11th.
Correct.
Does that fit in with,
That works, I think. Yep.
okay, all right.
Does that work per
That's fine, that's
everyone?
fine.
All right, so we just need to set a time. What time would work?
But, you know, you tell me, but I would say if possible, just to be safe, anytime after 11 a.m. would be helpful. But I will
Alright.
make myself available.
Okay.
What do you guys
October
want?
11th at 11, how's that? Does that work?
11:11.
Yeah, I like
Oh, you, oh,
3 or
okay, I forgot. Yes, wait a minute. Sarah's gonna work that day. How
2 or 3.
about 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
How about 3 o'clock? Does that sound all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
All
just
right.
to confirm 10/11 at 3 p.m. And if I may, I just have one closing statement in regards to the quality of the build and the situation here with this house. And you can look this up. Just for the record, I have a federal lawsuit filed in the state court, not the state court, in the federal court, Southern District of New Jersey, against the builder who's in Pennsylvania. I just want to comment on Russ's comment as to the better quality of modular versus not in my particular case. I'm not going to make any blanket statements, but I have a federal lawsuit filed, given that the construction was so poor and I had put so much extra dollars into fixing it, in the Southern District of New Jersey, against the builder, against the window manufacturer, and against the window distributor. And we have a lawyer involved in that. So because we've had so many design flaws and they hang their hat on this was built during COVID. So I have suffered a lot of, extracurricular costs and issues in the build of this house due to the quality here. And at the end of the day, I'm not sitting here telling you this is a terrible house or anything like that. We've done the best we could with it, but no means is it a post and beam beautiful home that you would expect and so forth and so on for this type of valuation. I just want to state that for the folks to hear here. And you can look up the lawsuit. It's on a federal database.
All right. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us tonight. We have the inspection set. We will move on to the next case.
Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
So the next case is Boyd Family Trust. The property number is 00301028.010-845 Vermont Route 100 North. Janet, Danny, I believe you're probably both testifying. And Russ will be testifying for the town. You all want to raise your right hand, please? Under the pains and penalties of perjury, do you solemnly swear that the evidence you give in this cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Great. Have you got a copy of the rules of procedure for the board? So thank you. Good. Do any of the members of the Board of Civil Authority have a conflict of interest or had ex parte communications? Therese. All right. So you are not going to take part in this. All right. Russ, would you like to introduce the property, please?
Which one are we doing first?
You're doing
Route 100? Okay.
Yeah, Route 100, 845.
Russ, could you sit back? I can hear you better when you sit back and you get close to the really muffled.
I can turn my volume. Okay, no, that's fine. Sorry about that.
That's better.
That's
Yeah.
better.
Sound better? Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, this is a property, we're considering a commercial property. It's got 14.76 acres. And it has a commercial, we're calling a shed. The total value, so on this property record card, it's a little different from the others because I started printing the cards to show the current use reduction. So this property is in current use and it's got 14.2 acres in current use, 0.56 acres excluded, and the 14 acres are considered agricultural land. So on the property record card, the market value for the property we have now is $169,050. The actual assessed value after the current use reduction, the total value is $96,510. So you can see that in the last column on the front of the card. So it shows the land building market total, and then it shows the land building total assessed value.
So that is just so everybody's clear and understands this. So Russ, you were looking at the last column on the right-hand side, which says 2024 reval, and the value is the last number at the bottom of that column, which is 96,510. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the taxable value.
That's what now?
I believe he's saying taxable.
Taxable value.
But it still doesn't.
Well, he's just presenting it. So now, Janet, you can present your case.
So, but current says 169.50. Where does that come in to the mix?
That's the market value if it wasn't in current use.
Russ, sit back a little bit again.
Okay, so that's the market value if the property wasn't in current use. So if you didn't have current use, we're saying it's worth 169,000. But you're not paying tax. You're not paying taxes on the 169. You're only paying taxes on the actual tax bill may have a slightly different number, but it should be 96,000, roughly 96,500.
So there's a few points of interest. We're in current use because the farm is close. If this could never be looked at as, unless the Sitzmark bought it or maybe Lenny Howe's family, they're not going to put 14 acres ever into just current use. You've got to have other property right there. And while it's ag, and people keep saying to me, I've got to be the only real estate agent in Wilmington that bought floodplain, but it's the best ag property there. We run a very real risk. I can never have a septic system there. I run a very real risk of everything flooding out like it did last year. And we lost all of our income this year too, because we lost 135 yards of soil. We couldn't go on the property and weed after last July, after the flood. So we lost 43,000 in produce, and we lost all this summer as well. It's floodplain. I went through 94 pages of what you presented for increases. And I couldn't find anything that was comparable. So I went the crazy route because it was all I had. And I looked at Marty and Karen Sprague, who are a farm. They're on a commercial road. They have 17.82 acres. They own a little bit of land across Route 9 that would be considered floodplain. Maybe, and I'm guessing 2 or 3. They have a primary home on this property. They have an old barn that's bigger than our barn, and they have just built a new barn. And their value is $280,270. The difference is $111,220. There's no way that covers the brand new barn and a primary home.
But the new barn's just been built, Jen. It's not part of this.
So even if you take that out, take it out,
Okay.
is that primary home only worth $111? $111,000?
We're talking Viola Morse's old home.
Correct.
You think Viola Morse's old home is worth 100? I haven't been
I
up there
sold
since
it.
yet. Okay.
They've done a
And
lot
what did
of
it look like? What did it look like before they bought it?
It's an old farmhouse.
Yeah.
But they've put work into it.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, I'm still struggling. The barn that's attached to that house is bigger than our barn. They have more land than we do, and it's not floodplain. So, I mean, I kind of went that direction because I really feel the barn is up. I mean, it's a brand new barn, but it's existing. It's got to have some value, even if you're looking at just what the lumber is.
The values here are as of April 1st of this past year.
Okay,
Okay, that's why the barn wouldn't be included.
okay.
All right.
So it was probably framing, Marty was framing. it.
Well, I think they poured the foundation sometime
Yep.
this summer. Early
Okay,
summer.
so if
Okay.
we go down to the next one, if we go to John Green, 15.5 acres and a barn. He's at 93, 490,000, $93,490. And if we go down one more, this one really has me confused. I don't even know how to talk about this one. There's no mention of a barn on the lister card that I saw. It's a 3-family home on 25 acres that is 2 properties away from our floodplain. I looked at the FEMA maps, which are about as clear as mud, and there's like there's like nothing that puts them in floodplain. And it was assessed at $198,780. So again, if I go back to my value, if I wasn't in current use, we're at $169,000. I just can't put these figures together. We are almost all floodplain. No foundation, no septic system would anybody put in there. We try to be responsible. We maintain a buffer, a green buffer between the waterway and us. We have talked to Marshall. We have talked to Scott Tucker, who told me I had to go find a grant to get an excavator in the river to remove, to do 4 or 5 hours of excavation work under the bridge so that maybe our property wouldn't be as impacted. You know, we would still potentially flood. In Irene, we flooded. You know, I just don't see, I don't see where the value is at 169.
Anything else? You want?
That's it for that
All right,
one.
Russ, do you want to respond?
Well, the thing is, I can't compare anybody else's home. There's no way I can compare a property that has a dwelling on it with your property. You just have an outbuilding. And if it is commercial, the land is valued different. Okay, sorry.
Oh, so much better. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so if this is a commercial property, it's valued totally different from a residential property. And so I can't compare it to a dwelling or somebody's house. I just have to value it based on a commercial property, commercial land, and it's in current use. Again, most of the value is actually the shed. So I've got $42,000 on it. It's a good size, good quality. I'm actually calling it average quality. It's older, but it was built in 1900, but it must have been renovated. We have an effective year of 1995. So out of the actual taxable value, half of it is the shed.
The barn
And
is,
so well, what you can call it the barn, you can call it a shed, but if it's commercial use, I would just classify it as a commercial shed.
it's still not
And then-
usable on the bottom level. There's nothing permanent that can ever happen there. I can park something on wheels in there so I can get it out fast. We can't use that as commercial.
Well, I can change the classification if it's not commercial use. But we're saying that, if you're not a farmer, you're 14.2 acres, it's agriculture. You must have somebody taking care of the property in order to qualify for current use.
We try to make a living on it.
They farm it.
We farm.
Oh, they
it.
farm. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. But see, it's less, because it's less than 25 acres, then they have to be a farmer or you have to have somebody.
And the only reason I can get it in current use is because I have 47 right down the road in current use.
Right, okay, that makes sense. Yep.
So no one else could get that. If we stopped farming it, I think I would be hard pressed at putting this price on this property for sale. It's almost all floodplain. I mean, we have a little bit right between 100 and East Dover Road, that is.
So if the classification was changed, so if it wasn't in current use and it wasn't classified as commercial, then the value would change.
The value is what? Would change. Would change.
So if it was just valued as vacant residential land with an outbuilding on it, yeah, the land value would be less. But the fact that it has a contributory value as farmland, then that's why the value is higher. If it wasn't farmland, it would have a lower value.
Well, if it was residential, that wouldn't be accurate. I can't even put a septic system on it. We could never have a home on it.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
If you're going to.
Oh, you have to speak into the,
Oh.
you
Oh,
can
that's a
see
problem.
him, that's what really.
Sorry, Russ.
No, that's okay, that's fine.
What I'm saying is if you were to consider it residential, that wouldn't be accurate either. We own both sides of the road on East Dover Road. Both are floodplain. Neither would support a septic system to be a residential property. It is floodplain.
Mhm.
I don't,
So if it's in current use, we wouldn't consider the issue of a floodplain. So if the state's saying it's qualified for agricultural land and it's paid or there's production on it, then it's usable, productive land.
so you never look at the FEMA maps to determine.
Yeah, we would, but because it's in current use, I wouldn't bother with it because you're not even being taxed on the fact that it's because it's in current use. You're not.
Yeah, but
being
I have to say that Vermont is very supportive of farmers, and they're pretty hopeful that we can raise something some of the time. The reality is, it is floodplain. It will forever have real limitations.
But some of I've worked in other towns where there's in the Connecticut Valley, a lot of the farmland has a higher value, and it's all in floodplain because it's the grade of it, the quality of the ground itself. So just because
The soil's amazing when it doesn't flood away and go downriver.
right, well,
And we have that problem. I mean, my son was not so upset that he lost his produce. He was more upset that he lost his dirt.
Mhm.
And it's harder for us because one of the arches in the bridges that would keep the water off our field is plugged to a certain point. It's just,
Is the barn, or is the shed, it's used, is it used for commercial use?
well, we grow produce to sell. Yes.
He says
It's
the
the barn,
barn, it's
the
the
barn.
barn.
Oh,
No.
well,
Used
it's
commercially.
downstairs, we can park a tractor, but if it's gonna rain, we move it out. Upstairs,
So
No.
you're not selling produce or doing anything else like that there, correct?
well,
sign.
in season, if we know it's not gonna rain, we can open the bottom door and put a pallet of pumpkins or mums. But again, nothing permanent can ever happen there.
Mhm.
We have plans, we got state, we're working with the state on putting a greenhouse up in a shade area there. Both of which have open sides, so the water can go in, the water can go out. We're not putting foundations in, we're not putting septic systems in. We're limited on what we can do.
Whatever you do there, it's gotta be able to be moved.
Or water's gotta be able to go right through it and out of it.
Does any member of the Board of Civil Authority have a question? Sir,
My question is, it's probably to Russ, is commercial land valued differently than farmland,
Yes, definitely.
agricultural land?
Yeah. So that's something that could be taken a look at. There's different methodologies for it based on its use, but I think the issue of the shed, which is, half of the value, it's only valued at $12 a square foot now, which seems reasonable. But that's something that,
If it were commercial land that was not in floodplain, I would be very happy.
Yeah.
But that's not where we're at.
mhm.
And you did evaluation that it is commercial property, correct? In the
Yes.
beginning, you said that it's viewed as commercial property, not as farmland.
But again, that could change. I've done it different depending on, the town and when it was done, but in some cases, we would take the farmland, the 14 acres, but again, it's not gonna make much difference in the taxable value. So I can change the commercial land, the excess land, I could change it to farmland market based on the quality of the farmland. And the value, the market value would go down, but it wouldn't reduce their taxable value. Because they're not paying taxes on the market value. So the land is going from, the market value is going from 126,000 for the land down to assessed value of 53,900. Anything I do to the land that's not, anything I do to the land that's in current use is not going to change their tax bill.
But you're still giving me a value that can't be
No.
supported because it's floodplain.
Um,
It's,
It's usable agricultural land.
if I don't
Janet,
have too much rain.
just 1 moment. Bonnie
I'm
has a
just
question.
confused, so I need to get my mind clarified.
Oh, I'm glad you're confused.
If I understood what Russ said, about 13 acres of this land is under current use, which is under agriculture. Because he said it was a 14.7 acre parcel. And then I looked at the card, and so I'm confused. Are you charging or rating commercial land under just the barn? The 1 point whatever acre for the barn, and then the 13.2 that's in the current use, is that under a different value? I got lost in there.
Normally with current use is a 2 acre exclusion for a building.
But I'm talking, but isn't for agricultural, if you're making it part of the agricultural value?
Yeah, let Russ try to explain what the card says.
Yes.
Because I think that's what Bonnie wants the answer to.
Okay, so yes, if you look at the card, So on the front of the card, there's land detail lines. There's line number 1 through 5. So the first line is considered commercial excess. It's only valued at $10,000. Then the second line, the additional, there's 13.2 acres, which is still considered excess. And then there's the primary commercial at the bottom, which is 0.56 acres. That's valued at $47,000. So that's something that could be looked at. So only 0.56 acres, which is excluded, has a market value of $47,000. The rest of it is in current use. And so it's taxed at the current use value of $483 an acre. So that's why the reduction, that's why you get the reduction in the land value from 126,000 down to 53,900. So even if I change if I change the market value of anything that's in current use, it doesn't reduce the taxable value.
The taxable.
Wait, but you can change the value of the primary commercial? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that could be, looked at.
Okay.
And the primary commercial, just so I understand, is that the barn?
It's on, the 0.56 acres. The barn's on that 0.56 acres. That's excluded from current use because it has a building on it. It can't be in current use. But the building could be in current use. The property owners can put that building into current use and they won't pay any taxes at all on it. So the state says if it's a farm building and it qualifies, then there's no taxable value on that barn.
Ah,
Okay.
that's important. So if you were to look at this, you could look at the primary commercial value and come back with a new property card?
Yeah. No, why wouldn't you want to put the barn or the building in current use?
They're not gonna put the barn in.
Okay,
current
no,
use.
it's not gonna be in current use, so
They're not gonna put, typically, there's a 2-acre exclusion with current use. I don't know
I
why.
don't see the two.
No, no, that's not true. It's if there's a house and a dwelling, yes, there would be 2 acres. The state says you have to have a 2-acre home site. But
They won't
if this
count
is just because there's no dwelling here, there's just a building. So you've only excluded 0.56 acres. That was your choice when you applied for current use. But you could also apply to put the barn in current use, and then you wouldn't pay any taxes at all on it.
I didn't.
So I think what he's saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, is that if this was an ag building,
It is, it's barn.
but no, the state needs to see it as an ag building.
They do. That's what's on my forester report.
It is.
Yeah. There's no
On the
septic
Lister's
system
card.
there.
On the
Commercial.
lister's card, here's where there's a discrepancy, I think,
Okay.
is that it's listed on the lister's card as commercial, not as ag.
It's on Route 100. I'm not sure what to say about that.
But
That's-
you go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, I'll have to check the records. We have to go into the new state system, this VT-PI system. And I can go in there and look and see if you've put that building into current use. If you put that building, if it is actually in current use, then it shouldn't be valued at all.
Okay. Oh, question, Mike?
Yeah, just about the process.
Sure.
Is Russ saying that would, at the appellant's request, he would take another look at the value? Is that what I heard?
Right. So I can look and verify if VT-PI, the state system, says that building, there may be other buildings on, across the street or whatever. So any of the buildings that the state says are agricultural qualified buildings, then there's no tax on them.
Okay. And so I believe you said, and correct me if I'm wrong again, that there's a state database you can look at to determine that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think the Board of Civil Authority, as well as the appellants, would be happy if you did that.
I do have we had a forester enter it in. That's how it got there, so
So
it should
given,
be recorded.
given that, we will need to continue this hearing.
I
Well,
can't-
because we
I
can't do.
can't wait to come see you guys.
Don't go anywhere.
I give you a lot of credit, all of you.
All right.
Thank you, Russ.
All right, don't go anywhere because we have another property of yours.
Well,
So this hearing now,
we're done with that.
Continue until,
continue.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
All right, so next we go to Boyd Family Trust, 00301.008.000-189 East Dover Road. Everyone is sworn in. Does any member of the Board of the Civil Authority have any conflict other than one that Teresa already referenced?
No.
No. Any ex parte communication?
Can I just ask on the continuance next Wednesday
Yeah, that's what I
night?
It's fine.
Thank you.
Okay,
So you're continuing it till Wednesday, October 9th.
yes.
Okay.
All right.
5:30.
All right, so Russ, would you like to explain 189 East Dover Road?
Okay, so we have a mobile home property. It's on 1 acre of land. It's an older mobile home. We don't do comparables. I didn't do a comparable of mobile homes on this property because it's unusual because it has a basement, which is unusual for mobile homes. Anyway, so the current market value is $76,210.
Could you repeat that, please?
I gotta sit.
You have to sit back, sorry.
I'm sorry. I gotta learn how to adjust my mic. So the market value is $76,210.
Okay,
It's a mobile home on a basement.
all right. Janet, would
Yes.
you like to present your case?
So before the reassessment, it was $53,690. It's a block foundation that is incredibly wet. We've kept it going because it was Uncle Herbie's trailer. And we've tried to keep a local person in there for local housing. I looked at just what was going on out in Wilmington. And there is a 2.5 acre parcel on Fairview with a trailer that is smaller. And it has 1.5 acres more than us. And it's been reassessed at $52,970. And the next thing I saw that again left me a little confused. On Penson Drive, there's a 3.2 acre parcel. So it's 2.2 acres more than we have. It's the same size property, upper level, 672 square feet. It includes 328 additional square feet of mudrooms, covered porch, utility shed, and it's assessed at $78,250. I mean, the base difference being 2.2 acres more. I guess I was just left a little confused as to our increase compared to others with a lot more acreage.
Russ, would you like to respond, please?
Okay, now this property, this is not part of the farm?
It was always a part of the farm. Uncle Herbie went to war. He came back. His brother gave him an acre. When Herbie died, it came back to us. So it borders the farm. I've never put it in current use. No.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was questioning whether if it's residence for, farm workers, then it can be put into current use and then you wouldn't pay taxes on that either. But
It can be, but currently we have a nurse in there, not a farmer.
okay. So when I valued it, some of the contributory value is obviously the basement, but I have it in fair condition. I have 80% depreciation. We're saying it's only 20% good.
That's pretty
So,
average.
you know, in the system, it only goes down to 20% good. It won't go any lower than that. If it's livable, then the threshold is 20%. But the basement itself is valued, you know, most of the value is the basement, really. And then we valued the garage. It's got a garage door on it. Is it functional, the garage?
Very wet. We had to there's a second furnace in there just to keep upstairs warm. Downstairs is just, it's declining rapidly.
Is there concrete floor, slab floor?
It was poured. Yeah, 53 years ago.
Yeah, okay, so it's not dirt. Okay. So it is what, to give you a little better explanation on the, you know, the land value. If the lot is around, you know, 2 acres up, say up to 2 acres, depending on the neighborhood, the land value is different from neighborhood to neighborhood. And none of the house sites are valued on the exact acreage. So there's no adjustment because we don't have any data to show how much the difference in the value, you know, a 1.5 acre lot is and how much the difference would be to a 2 acre lot. So we put a site rating on it, so whatever the house site is.
Oh, we're losing you, Russ.
Move up a little.
I can go in the other room if you want.
No, we can't hear you. Sorry.
Come closer.
No, oh, no, that's just the opposite. Oh, well, I don't know why it's different. But anyway, is that clear enough right now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Maybe I'm talking too loud. But anyway, so there may be differences in the acreage on some of the house sites, but they may have the same exact value. So because like the difference between 1.5 or 2 acres or 1 acre and 2 acres, we can't extract the difference in value from the market. So when somebody does a fee appraisal or property sells, you know, they just say, well, it has 1 acre and it's worth so much. It's typical lot, and that's the way these are treated. So we don't value based on the exact acreage on a sliding curve. So any 1 acre lot in your neighborhood is going to have $50,000 on it. It'll be exactly the same. Everybody's treated the same way. And an increase in value is basically the increase in the market.
So if something is 3.2 acres, it's not worth any more than the 1 acre?
No, after 2 acres, then it goes into another category. So up to 2 acres, they're all valued. So a 1 acre lot might have the same value as a 2 acre lot, but once it goes over 2 acres, the state says the house site is 2 acres. Anything above the 2 acres goes into a category called excess acres, and then that would increase the value. But we don't have enough market evidence. There's nothing that we can pull out of the market and the data, especially on improved properties. To, you know, we're kind of estimating the land value on improved properties. So we can track vacant properties, you know, that sell and come up with a reasonable estimate. But we just have to try to determine the total value, land and building, and then break out. The state says we have to break out a land value. So, you know, we have to do it and try to determine the land value by abstraction.
So we
So,
have a 2.5 acre parcel and a 3.2 acre parcel down below.
yeah, you have to see if it's in the same, you have to see if it's in the same neighborhood and see if there's any influence factors. You can have positive and negative influence factors. This property, we don't have no influence factors, no negative adjustments, no positive adjustments to the basic calculation.
All right. Okay. I think the BCA has some questions. Bonnie?
I have one question. On the paperwork that you gave us, you said it has 1 bedroom and it's an office with a block foundation. And then tonight you said you have a nurse in there. So I want to know, are we having a resident in there or is this an office? And
There's a 1 bedroom, it's 1 bedroom and a little cubby that's used as an office. It's not a 2-bedroom trailer.
no, okay, but which is it being used as? An office or a nurse living there?
She's living there. It's a residence.
Yes,
Yeah, it's not a,
That's all I wanted.
It's
to
not
know.
a
It looked
commercial-
Like it was an office.
no, it's not a commercial property.
Okay.
No, we can-
Russ, you mentioned that the neighborhood can change the value of a property, right? So.
Right.
So this property is in neighborhood 5. And some of the properties that Janet attached are in different neighborhoods. For example, I think one which is
Neighborhood 6.
neighborhood 6, neighborhood 12. Could you explain how that changes the value of the properties?
Well, there's a land schedule for each neighborhood.
Okay,
So depending on the sales we have for land sales within that area, so it's a specific area like Chimney Hill is a neighborhood all by itself. So the land values there are different than this neighborhood. So each neighborhood, we try to determine a fair market value and create a base value for that neighborhood. So if it's waterfront neighborhood, it's going to have a totally different value. If it's commercial land, it'll have, in a commercial neighborhood, it can have a different land value.
got it. And can we get a copy of that land schedule?
I believe the town has, there should be a copy. I created one, but I can, that's something that we typically create for, for grievances and for, appeals.
Okay, I don't think that's in the Dropbox, but we can work on getting it. Does anybody else have any questions? Janet, anything more to say? All right, we need to schedule an inspection. And we need an inspection team.
I'll do it. I'll go.
All right, good. Tom? Anybody else? Vince? And John? Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Is that both the properties?
Well, one's continued. I mean, you can look at the,
Okay, but I mean, there's a reason we can't look at both.
They're on the same road.
Well, that's what I mean.
yeah, why don't you look at both properties? And
All right,
let's
thank
get that out of the way.
Okay.
Because it's not going to take too long to look at the other property. So what would be good dates for you?
We're flexible.
Okay,
It's up, I think it's more you guys.
Okay.
Your schedules. are
I think
hard.
they're around quite a bit.
I know, but I wanted to be,
We're on. We're around.
All right, so what would be good dates for you guys? I know, Vince, you're pretty busy. I mean, Saturday work?
I won't be here Saturday.
Okay.
Sunday?
Let's not kill the weekend or anything, right? That's, no, is Saturday okay?
No,
Saturday.
Saturday.
is not.
John can.
I won't be here. If somebody else wants to be
Oh.
on the team, that's fine, but I won't be here on Saturday.
Okay. So Vince, you can make it. Why don't we just, if John can't make it, all right, if he can't make it, we'll.
So we need a third member.
What are you doing Saturday, John?
Me?
John Gannon, that is, yeah.
In the afternoon, I can do it. I'm-
The afternoon.
All right, any time at all Saturday is good for me. How about you, Vince?
would
Okay.
4 work?
Saturday at 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Saturday at 4.
That's Saturday, October 5th.
I believe so.
Yes. Just making sure we got the right Saturday.
10:05, 4 PM. And we'll meet, just so we're clear, we'll meet at the property on Route 100.
Okay.
The barn
Yep,
first.
right at the barn.
Yeah, that will take,
Enter by Eastover Road.
like 10 minutes to do.
It'll be raining. Hopefully we don't get flooded.
Is it supposed to rain Saturday?
I think we're supposed to have a decent afternoon.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
All right, one more. Oh, no, 2 more, sorry. All right. That hearing is closed. Next hearing, Craps, property number 007020006.000, land only.
I think your trees have probably grown back by now. You realize that, huh? Oh, okay, okay, all right. Hold on.
Okay, one of those.
Well, thank you, Miss Lounsbury. Yes, we go.
So, Chris, we have to swear you in?
We have plenty here. I think we
Raise your
do.
right hand.
If we don't,
Under the pains and penalties of perjury, do you solemnly swear that the evidence you give in the
You
cause
got
under
the map.
consideration
I'm
shall be
gonna
the whole
take this.
truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
take one and
Russ,
pass it to the Lord. Thank
do you want to present this property, please?
you. John,
Okay,
I have to recuse.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Hold
I'm
on
sorry.
2 seconds. Does anybody have a conflict of interest or have had ex parte communications? Tom, you have. You're
I have not
recusing
had
yourself.
any ex parte, but I've known Chris for 50 years.
All right. All right. Russ,
okay, so we've got a vacant lot, 150 acres on Miller Road. It got some issues. So we'll have to talk about that. So whatever the, so that's okay for the description. So I'll wait and see what the property owner says.
okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just concerned, about the access to this property, and there's no electric to it or no nothing, and you have a house site on here. And, there's no, it's a wood lot is what it is, and that's it as far as I'm concerned. And it was at $781 per acre. And right now, as it sits, it is at $920 per acre, and I just feel that's too high. And I did not see any land schedule. I asked for one twice, but I did not see one.
Okay, well, so you mentioned it's off, you have no power to it. That's an adjustment that we can make. I don't have that on the card now, but we can make an adjustment for the house site because it's off the grid. So if it's not feasible to get power to it, then we make a negative adjustment for it. So that's something we can take a look at, or we can put in there. We have to value it as a buildable lot, that we have to assume that there's somewhere on the 150 acres where you could build a house. But if there's some evidence that shows that that engineering report or something that says you can never build on it, then we could take that house site off. There have to be some kind of an engineering report. I looked at the maps. I tried to determine what to do with the fact that you have to go through the town dump to get to it. So that's a major issue. So I made a major adjustment on it, but it's just my opinion. And I tried to find land sales. I couldn't find any land sales in Wilmington of a lot that size. The biggest one I could find was like 70 something acres. And it wasn't comparable. So the big issue is, what is it worth? Because you have to go through the town dump. That's a serious negative influence. And we looked at the deeds to try to find out if you have any kind of right of way. So the only right of way is through the town property. I looked at the abutting properties to see if you have any right of ways from anybody else's property. I think that Halvin, I think it's Halvin property. That's yours. Is there any other possible right of way access to get to your property without going through that?
It should be in the deed off Old Stage Road also.
Yeah, we couldn't find that. Sarah looked up the deeds and she couldn't find anything because I say it would be nice if you had some other way of getting into there. Because if you get into it, if you have a right of way through somebody else's property off Old Stage Road, the Old Stage Road extension, then it would offset that negative value that I put in. Because then you wouldn't have to go through the town property to get to it.
Well, yeah, but you gotta come in both ways anyway. To
Yeah, so
access section.
yeah, I couldn't see that on the map. So there was no, I couldn't see any trail or, class 4 road or anything coming from Old Stage to go into your property. And we couldn't find anything in the deeds. So my estimate of the value is based on the fact that you only can get to it through the town property, which is a very negative influence factor. So I took off 60% for the 148 acres based on the fact of its location.
Well, as far as I know, we have a right of way through Old Stage Road. We've always used it. And there's other people that are using Old Stage Road because they still think it's a town road. And the property just past this piece, the guy has a camp there and he's using that road.
Yeah. So we looked at, I don't think Sarah could find, I guess the deeds are really old on your property, but she couldn't find, the only thing she found in the deeds was the fact that you have access through the town property. It didn't state that you have access through anybody else's property. So if that's true, that's a plus to the value of the land.
Yeah, and of course, I didn't get this paper until today, so. And it does show that you reduced it because of the access through the landfill, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went into the Halavan, I think it's Halavan, I don't know if it's spelled right, but that property goes off of the Old Stage Road extension. And we went into that, look at that deed, but it didn't mention anything about a deed or giving you right away. So I don't know if it's a gentleman's agreement. It didn't look like there was anything official saying that you could have access.
No. I guess that's about all I got to say about it. I don't know. Except, obviously I wished it was rated a little bit lower per acre.
Well, you should look, it's something that we can look into further if we have more documentation. If there's no written documentation or no deed that shows that you have a right of way, then technically you're just it's a gentleman's agreement. And if you tried to sell the property, then it would be a problem if the deeds show that the only access you have through is through the town property.
So does any member of the Board of Civil Authority have a question? Meg seems to have it.
I do. So the present value, which you were considering adjusting, correct, Russ, is 138.2, and that's what it's feeling. Am I right, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have a value that you were presenting?
Well, it was at 781 per acre before, which was 117,200, and then it went up to this. Well, it went up. Well, right now it's 138.2, so it's 920 per acre.
Okay.
And I just feel that 920 per acre is higher than it should be.
So not to put words in your mouth, but you like the old value? Is that?
Well, yeah, it was better. That was still enough, I figured. But
Okay. I just wanted to.
Was plenty.
Hear a number. Yeah.
I do have a question for Russ. So Russ, you said you couldn't find anything comparable for the 150 acres in Wilmington, correct?
Correct.
And I think you mentioned before about not being able to go outside of town to find something comparable.
Well, we don't have the database source to do it. That would take, so a fee appraiser, like Mr. Buckley was in, he's got MLS. So he can go in and search any town in Vermont, and he can pick comparables in Vermont, anywhere in Vermont. So you can go out of town, but we don't have the resources in the database. I don't subscribe to MLS. I don't need it that much because we don't use comparable analysis directly. It's a nice tool to have, but somebody's got to pay for it. In some cases, like I just did reappraisal for Windsor, and the assessor there, because he's a fee appraiser, he subscribes to MLS, so he has the resource. I don't have that resource, so it's better not to go outside the town. You know, IAAO, International Association of Assessing Officers, doesn't recommend, you know, going outside the town to assess property values. There's all kinds of issues that come up as far as the taxation, whether it's actually a comparable town or not. You know, like, you know, would you compare Marlborough to Wilmington? Is that a fair, you know, comparable? So we don't have the resources, and it's not the best way to try to assess. If everything in the town is assessed in the same manner, using whatever resources and comparables and sales we have in the town, it's more desirable for the town. But the adjustment, we can lower the value. So I mentioned.
What you're saying is it's better to do within town, but we have no comparables in this case. So
Right.
The 138 is coming from where?
Based on whatever sales we do have, you know, so I have to determine whether, you know, the adjustment. So the first 2 acres, which is the house site, that's not difficult to assess based on what we find for land sales. And then in this case, I mentioned that we can reduce the house site value a little bit because it's off the grid. If it's off the grid, there should be a negative adjustment. So in the spreadsheet, there's which we provided as a handout. So there's a code for off the grid. If I plug that in, it'll automatically make a negative adjustment to the house site. So that portion of it can be reduced. The excess acres, 148 acres, I did, you know, I just used my judgment to try to determine how much of a negative influence it is going through the dump. That's not something that's quantifiable. You know, it's just my opinion.
So does the spreadsheet that we're going to have access to at some point show the per acre value in Wilmington?
Yeah, well, in each neighborhood. So there's a valuation table for each neighborhood.
Okay, so something in that spreadsheet saying 148 acres times X equals 106,000.
Right, yeah. So there's a computer model in there, but what I have to do is translate it. See, so there's a size adjust curve that's built into the formula. There's a formula. So what I have to do is I have to take increments. So every 5 acres or every 6 acre, or every 1 acre, 2 acres, whatever. Then I have to do an Excel spreadsheet to show you what it's going to be if your land is in that category. So if it's 100 acres, you just look across and it's like 100 acres is so much per acre. If it's 50 acres, it's so much per acre. So the size adjust curve is, as the lot gets bigger, there's a lower rate per acre. So so when you get into 200, 300 acres, it's going to have a lower value per acre. So I just have to translate that into you know, something legible so you can see what the computer's doing.
So Russ, just so I understand, with respect to the home site, the current property card does not have it listed off grid. If it was listed off grid, that would further reduce the value of the home site, correct?
Right. I think what I have in the model would take another 10% off the house site value.
Okay.
And I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
When you originally got your valuation for 2024, it was 146.
Yes,
right?
yes,
And then you
yeah.
went and saw the assessor,
Yeah.
and then they knocked it down to 138 too.
Yes, that's correct.
And you've come to see us to
Yeah.
see if we can reduce that. Just want to make sure. And
Yeah.
the reduction, Russ, from the 146.2 to the 138.2 was because it was on the transfer station road, or? what was
Right.
the-
So I made a negative adjustment of 60%, a negative 60% on the excess acres.
Which brought it from 146 to 138.
Right. Now, the, well, question I had, is this, would this land qualify for current use?
Yes,
Or-
it would, but I would not put it in it. Because I've seen, matter of fact, today I see the neighbor's timber lot being cut right beside this. And they're cutting yellow birch, this diameter, straight as an arrow, and it's going for firewood. And I don't believe in that.
Well, the thing is, you don't have to cut it. If you can put it in forestry, I don't think you have to.
I'm not putting it in current use.
Well,
period.
just a thought because.
Go there.
Okay,
And if it was in current use, it would be $188 per acre, right there.
Right.
120. You want to talk about current use.
Uh.
So I don't see why they're penalizing somebody like me for not putting it in. It's a wood lot.
One other question, if Ross did put in the off-grid, the statistic for the off-grid, see what that brought valuation to.
Yeah, see, I didn't get this paper here until today.
okay.
I don't know why they didn't send it. But everything else with this one.
So
Right.
do you want to wait till that happens? Or do you want to
Yeah, we can do that.
recess again or continue?
Yeah, she get a new update.
Is that good with you?
Yeah, that's good with me if it is with you folks.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you won't have to sit for 2.5 hours. We'll do the
reverse.
continuing, yeah.
Yeah.
Reverse
Shorter
order.
first.
All right, so Russ, can you update the property card?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, easy.
Thank you. All right, then we will continue this hearing
And then you'll get the property card.
till next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Does next Wednesday work for you, Chris?
Does that work for Russ to do it by next Wednesday?
Yeah, that's fine.
So what do I do? Come here and meet here again?
Yeah, and we'll put you at the beginning of the
Yeah,
agenda.
good, because I was ready for bed by 8.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sure you guys were too.
Well, thank you very much
So
Yeah.
next
for
Wednesday. at
waiting
8.
for all those hearings.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
I'm sure they were tedious to you. All right, thank you very much, Russ. We have one more hearing, which is Nenkov.
Nenkov.
All right, so Nenkov, the land number is HSDEER HI.059, land only. Just to explain to the Board of Civil Authority, you do not actually have to be present at an appeal. You can
That was my question.
base your appeal on the written record, which in this case for Nenkov is a paragraph.
Right.
And that's it. But Russ can describe the property and then I guess we need to attempt to contact the landowner and schedule an inspection. But we'll start with Russ, just.
Yeah. Okay, so it's one of these paper lots on a paper street in the undeveloped section. It's called Haystack Undeveloped. It's one of these $500 lots that we increased to $1,500 based on the sales we had. In 2020, there weren't any sales. And like I mentioned, I think before, the $500, I'm not sure where that was developed years ago. And it was left at $500 when they did the 2020 reappraisal. And the state says, no, you can't do that. You have to have a different value. And then luckily, there was some transfers on these properties, even though there's no streets, there's no infrastructure, there's no nothing. But there are sales. In fact, he paid $2,600 for this lot, and we have it valued at $1,500. And then I included the comparables. So Vermont Golf, VT Golf, they bought a couple lots at $1,500 a piece. And then there was two other sales, which were tax sales, basically. They were purchased from the town. So the best evidence of what they were worth was the $1,500 on the sales, and that gave us the reference to use. And that's that's the only evidence we have of what they're worth. But I don't know why he paid $2,600 for it. I don't know how they decided, because if you look at the map, there's no way to get there to it. There's no road there. It's just one of these what I call paper lots. So Vermont Golf, they bought the lots because they were putting the pieces together, so it's like a puzzle. So you can get some value out of it if you combine the lots and then merge them legally to properties that do have access. This one definitely doesn't have any access to it at all.
So everybody can read what Mr. Nenkov said, but basically in summary, he wants to reduce the current value, which is $1,500, to the original amount of $500, and basically said what Russ said, that you can't access the land. But you can all read that. So we need to schedule an inspection, but unfortunately, Mr. Nenkov is not here to to do it. So
well, I don't know how you get there.
Continue until you can talk to him.
No, see,
Well, how are we gonna,
How are we gonna
get to the
get
land?
that
We could traipse across some other land, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you could determine where it is unless you have.
Yeah, which we need to draw.
You can look at the aerial, you can look at the map in the aerial and see where it is, but that's the only way you can find it.
So why don't we do this? Unless somebody on the Board of Civil Authority disagrees, we can ask Mr. Nenkov to waive the inspection.
Yep.
And then we can just resolve this on the paper record.
Sounds good.
Does anybody disagree with that?
No.
No.
If it's truly inaccessible.
Okay, so Therese, could you contact Mr. Nenkov and see if he'll waive the inspection? And then we will just continue this until next Wednesday,
Okay.
so we can figure out if we have to conduct an inspection or not.
Right.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Russ. What? Do you have it?
Well, yeah, he may have a trail or something to get to it. If he bought it, maybe he researched it, try to see where it was. He may know there's some kind of a trail or walking path or something to get to it.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
correct.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Good
All
night.
right.
Night.
Housekeeping, a few questions, right? Do we adjourn with questions about?
We have to hear the inspection report for Lieber.
Okay, okay, good. That was one of my questions. Yeah. Yeah, it was when we were doing that. So are we in deliberative session then?
No,
Just listening?
no, you have to
Okay.
read the report first,
Okay.
then we'll go into deliberative session.
Okay. So this is from John Gannon, Tom Fitzgerald, Therese Lansbury, and me. We inspected 9 Island Drive, owned by Annette and Mark Lieber, on Monday, September 16th at 9 a.m. They had a friend whose name I did not get, otherwise I would have put it in the report, who unlocked the house and did not participate in any way in the inspection. Property consists of a 13-room, 5-bedroom, 5-bath, single-family home located on 1.5 acres, bordering Lake Raponda on 2 sides of the property. It's sort of a peninsula that leads to an island, very small island. The house is closest to Lake Raponda Road, with one other house beyond it, sharing Island Drive, which has a gravel and dirt surface. The house is newly built and is in good condition. It replaced a 1940s log cabin, which had been renovated in the 70s, according to the owner's testimony. The lot is landscaped where possible under the state of Vermont shoreline regulations. It's rather marshy, especially on the south side, has mostly natural vegetation with some small garden areas. It includes a dock on the north side of the lot. House has an asphalt shingle roof with solar panels on a portion of the roof and cement fiber clapboard siding. According to the Lister card, there's total finished square footage of 4,367 square feet. Main floor consists of a large mudroom, kitchen / great room with high-end appliances, quartz countertops, a pantry, access to the large deck, and expansive lake views. A living room with a stone fireplace, a half bath, a laundry room, and a master bedroom and full bath. Flooring throughout is hardwood, or in the case of the bathrooms, tile. Second floor consists of 4 bedrooms, an office, and 2 full bathrooms. And the largest of the bedrooms features glass doors which open to a deck. The lower level consists of 2 utility furnace rooms. Utilities include a whole house generator, air conditioning, and adequate air exchanger. A TV media room, a hall bathroom with shower, and 3 additional rooms, 2 of which are walkout to the south side of the house. Value under appeal is $1,676,170. The assessor presented comparable sales at the Haystack Hermitage area, ranging in price from $1,495,000 to $3,150,000. The appellants presented Lake Raponda house values ranging from $430,850,000 to $1,087,100,000. The end.
All right. That's our only inspection report for tonight. So now we can move into deliberative session.